All right, it's 4:30 in the AM, and I got more book read from the chapter 2, The Conditions for the Existence of Propaganda. Section 1, The Sociological Conditions. Here we learn about the difference between, or the fact of the individualist and mass society we have today simultaneously. So far we were talking about the close relationship in our society between the mass and the crowd. How we're basically living in order for social interactions. We're living in constant movement from one crowd to another. And, wow. The very fact of belonging to crowds turns the individual more and more into a mass man, and thus modifies his very being. No question that man's psychic being is modified by his belonging to a mass society. This modification takes place even if no propaganda appeal is made to the soul of the crowd or the spirit of the collective. Individual produced by mass society more readily available, more credulous, more suggestible, more excitable. Under such conditions, propaganda can develop best. So, propaganda becomes possible and necessary in Europe since the end of the 19th century, because it was a mass society composed of symbols and stereotypes. So the masses have made propaganda possible. We must also consider the importance of public opinion in this connection. Public opinion, as we presently think of it, also needs a mass society. In fact, the presence of a stimulus or an act, which are the first steps in the formation of public opinion. There must also be an awareness of existing opinions, of private opinions or implicit public opinions. So in the presence of a stimulus or an act, there must be exchanges of opinion, of actions, and interactions, which are the first steps in the formation of public opinion. There must also be an awareness of existing opinions, of private opinions, or implicit public opinions. Finally, there must be a reappraisal of values and attitudes. Only then is there a crystallized public opinion. Finally, there must be reappraisal of values and attitudes. Only then is there really a crystallized public opinion. Hence, the Christians became more and more the bad guys because they are stubborn in their values and attitudes. Haha. My theory. Only then is there a crystallized public opinion. It is obvious that in order for this entire process to take place, a very close relationship among a great number of people is necessary. So our relationships matter to our lives. The kind of public opinion we mean, the kind used by propaganda and necessary for it, cannot exist in a community of 50 or 100 persons, isolated from the outside world, whether it be a monastery or a village of the 15th century. Neither can this kind of public opinion exist in a society of very low population density, in which a man has only very distant contacts with other men. So the close relationship among a great number of people is necessary. That's what he's trying to stress. Meeting once a month at the marketplace, for instance, does not permit the wide dissemination of personal views needed to form public opinion. Meeting once a month at the marketplace, for instance, does not permit the wide dissemination of personal views needed to form public opinion. So while the economy is crashing, they want to keep us locked to our technological Babylon matrix. Hence they cause coronavirus, so we can not break our very close relationship amongst these great number of people of our nation and so forth. Communita. Which controls everything down to the communita. Thus, for propaganda to be effective psychologically and sociologically, a combination of demographic phenomena is required. The first is population density, with a high frequency of diversified human contacts. Sounds like most people's Facebooks. Exchanges of opinions and experiences, and with primary importance placed on the feeling of togetherness. Yeah, no wonder. It's like Facebook and getting attached to it, it's like putting yourself through a form of mind control, a fantasy mind control, which tends to make you feel like you're very powerful and big, but you're just making yourself smaller and smaller in reality, based on what I've read so far. The second is urban concentration. The first demographic phenomena for propaganda to be effective psychologically and sociologically is population density and urban concentration, which, resulting from the fusion between mass and crowd, the urban concentration gives the mass its psychological and sociological character. Only then can propaganda utilize crowd effects. Only then can it profit from the psychological modifications that collective life produces in the individual, and without which practically none of the propaganda would take. So with these two demographic phenomena, propaganda can utilize crowd effects. It can profit from the psychological modifications that collective life produces in the individual. It can profit from the psychological modifications that collective life produces in the individual, and without which practically none of the propaganda would take. Much more, the instruments of propaganda find their principal source of support in the urban concentration. Much more, the instruments of propaganda find their principal source of support in the urban concentration. That reminds me of the scene in Hunger Games when the crowd went wild after seeing all the tributes rolling in their vehicles. Damn. That was an ugly scene. That's what they call energy. Anyway, let's see where we at. Urban concentration, population density, propaganda takes. Buying a newspaper or a radio set Alright, I think I'll finish it off right here because I'm about to need a smoke break.